كم جميعا يعطيكم العافية. صارت الساعة 10 هلا. رح أعطي الشباب كمان 3 دقايق بين ما نجهز حالنا. مثل ما انكم شايفين هون على الشات، أنا كنت عم أحكي معاكم، عم أقول لكم إنه في إمكانية للجميع إنه يحكي معنا على الشات، يسألني. كمان في عنا question and answer session هون موجودة. ثواني أعتقد نشغل الكاميرا مشان نحسن نشوف بعض أكثر. بالمناسبة I shared كمان اليوتيوب لايف ستريم، فاللي عنده حدا بيحب إنه بيفضل إنه يشوف على اليوتيوب، أو ما عنده البرنامج، أو ما بيحب إنه ينزل البرنامج تبع الويبينار أو هذا، ففي اللايف ستريم. وعندك أوكي، أنا آسف، تذكرت شغله هلا انه الويبينار رح يكون بالانجليزي. على اي حال، في عنا هون شويه ناس من بيحكوا انجليزي، فانا بدينه على اللغه الانجليزيه هلا بعد اسمكم، لان الويبينار كان مسجل باللغه الانجليزيه، لكن شو اسمه، الويبينارات السابقه كانت باللغه العربيه، واذا بدكم بعتكم الفيديوهات هلا مشان تشوفوها. طيب، أول شيء بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I would like to welcome everyone to our webinar today, which will discuss, as you can see, how to design the home automation in by me Vimar. First of all, I would like to give your attention that you can chat with me at any time. You can raise your hand, and you can raise your hand and you can ask questions. So today our webinar will be about how to design in BuyMe. For those who knows that BuyMe protocol is one of the protocols being used to design home automation and building automations. I have talked about this in my previous webinars. What's the protocol, how to use it, what the language of the protocols, etc. So our content for today, of course, will be introducing myself as your host, Moaath Albukaai. We'll say who is Essentia and what we do, like usual. We're going to talk about the home automation system guide, how to choose the right cable, what's areas, what's lines, how to do them, how to design them, how to choose your power supply, what's the topology when it comes to Vimar and BuyMe system, wiring diagram, some of the diagrams, sound systems. Then we'll go with the diagram examples. And of course, I will talk about some of the devices. At the end, the devices here vary a lot. So we cannot talk about all of the devices because there are more than 9,000 devices here. Okay. So your host is Moaath Albukaai. I'm a computer engineer. I had more than 15 years in home automation. In IT field. I started the home automation since 2001. Of course, I started in Z-Wave, in Insteon, Z-Wave, and the wireless. Then I went up to the wired protocol like the KNX, etc. By the way, I have talked about the protocols earlier in my previous webinars. I was certified by Microsoft, Cisco, Dell during my IT experience, and then I certified by Insteon and Vimar and KNX now. So enough about me. Let's talk about Essentia. Essentia is a distributor, as we all know, coming from essential things, and our hope and our aim is to be your professional smart building devices distributor and suppliers for all of the integrators. We have a team to help professional integrators and clients. That means we have a professional team here that can help you and help your team. We do also trainings and we do trainings and webinars, obviously. We work with 6 different brands: Vimar, Elvox, which we talk about today, Tab Home, Novo, Mega Man, Vantage, which will have some insights about them in coming webinars. Before I proceed, I just want to make sure that everyone can hear me clearly and everything is going smoothly. Would you please chat with me and tell me everything is okay? Sorry, I start right. So okay. So thank you, Muhammad. Very good that everything is clear. Because it's not like two-way chat here. But by the way, if you want to be a two-way chat, it will be you are welcome to talk with me lively. Anyways, so as a VMAR, tamam, alhamdulillah, there are things perfect voice. Earlier I had an internet issue, but I'm glad it was fixed now. Okay, so let's go into our webinars. Let's go into what we are about today. So we are about today home automation system guide, how to do the home automation. By the way, this is for the Buy Me system, which is a lot similar to the KNX. They are not the exact thing. They are similar to KNX. As you notice, as we are going now, it will be uh, as you will notice now, it will be uh, much easier in Buy Me than the KNX. Anyways, this guide, it will set the rules for creating a home automation system with Buy Me home automation. How to choose the cable, how to choose the devices, how to sizely or make a size your line size correctly, how to use sufficient power supplies units, and how to draw the areas and the lines. And we're going to talk about all this in details in the coming slides. So let's start what Vimar offer. Of course, Vimar offer a global supervisions. That mean screens, mobiles, tablets, remote control using a remote control or using your mobile, local of control, of course, using devices, rocker, etc., sound system, lighting control, energy management, climate control, access control, video door entry, video surveillance, which means CCTV, technical alarms that include gas alarm, that include CO detector, gas detectors, heat detectors, all of this kind of detectors that you really care about having alarm about. So as you can see, Buy Me automation system is a big solution. It can have all this different kind of stuff inside one solution, which is rarely happen with our other suppliers. Now, let's start with the most important thing, which is the choosing the wiring cable. We'd start from the wiring cable, how to choose your cable, and then we'll build up how to do your cable. So first of all, you have to make sure that when you're using your cable to differentiate the color, to distinguish between the different lines. So I mean by that, when you are using automation cable for lighting control, etc., we usually use white cable. When you are doing a sound system, we usually use a blue cable. When you're doing a security system, we usually use a yellow cable. I think I get my point to you guys. The point is here that when you are doing this and someone come behind you or someone come after that, when he see the color of the cable, he would know exactly what line is this. Is it an automation? Is it a sound system? Is it a security system? And why do we need and differentiate those things? We'll talk about this later. You know that why we need to differentiate them. The cable that Vimar use, the bus system, it's 2 pair 0.5 mm, let's say the round of the cables. It's 2 pair and it's insulated for 400 volt. That's mean that this cable can run with other electrical cables. No problem with that. Inside the same duct, inside the same pipe, We don't have any problem of having our cable to be run along our other power cables and category 1 power cables, which is the normal power cables. We're not going talking about the high voltage power cable or other kind of cables. We're talking about the normal power cable that you can find inside each house. But in case of a new building, it's always a good policy to install a separate dedicated duct for the bus cable. Yani, if you have the chance and if you can to have a separated duct, that will be better. If you can't, no issues and no problem at all. Any questions so far? Great. So here's the cables that you can choose from. You have the automation, which is white cable 01840. So 01840, this is for automation. And when I mean by automation, it's everything regarding the light, regarding the HVAC, etc. The color is white and it's internal use. The same number end up with Y, it will be yellow, and we usually use it for burglar alarm. This one is not being used anymore, by the way. I'll explain why later. Then you have the .B, which is the blue we are using for sound system, and it's internal as well. Then you have the 732H, we use it for intercom system, not the automation, and it come in two different colors, the light blue for internal, and the green if you're gonna use it for underground. I think this is clear regarding the cables and what the color of the cables and how to choose your cables from the beginning. Now, areas and lines. And this is very important for you to understand as a topology for the system, because from here you will proceed to do the whole design. Now, Vimar consists like the KNX of areas and lines. Areas, let's imagine that you have 6 buildings. Each building we can consider it as an area. And the line that inside the building, now for example, one building, its own area, but you have floors. Each floor will be one line. So in Vimar, the architecture of it, it can give you an adoption of 15 areas. That means you will have 15 different buildings. Inside each area, you will have 16 different lines and 16 different lines. That means 15 building, each building have 16 floor. Okay. Each floor can hold up to 128 device. That's a huge number, right? I'm not gonna say that you're gonna use all of that because you cannot, and I'll explain why later. But this is the architecture. You can have 15 areas. Each area can hold 16 line. Each line can hold 128 device. Now, how you will differentiate this and how you will start each line? Of course, each line will be started by a coupler, a line coupler. So in your backbone, you'll have 15 area. Each area will start with the coupler. Then when you are inside the areas, you can have 15 lines, and each line will start with couplers. The couplers or the routers will allow the messages only will allow the messages established at the time of programming the system. So when you program the system, you have to add the router and the coupler to allow the messaging. Now, this is where come the beautiful thing about Vimar, which I didn't find anywhere else. In Vimar, you can have 2 power supply unit on the same line. Usually, each line with other systems, each line will have 1 power supply only. If you run out of the juice in that power supply, you don't have any other solution but to cut the line, put a new line, start a line coupler, and put a power supply and go ahead. But in Vimar, you can have 2 power supplies. These 2 power supplies, it will give you the option is to increase the amount of the current on the line and it will add the redundant to your system. What I mean by that, so our most used power supply is 1280 milliamp, so it's 1.2 ampere. Let's say that all of your devices is less than 1 amp, or one's less than 1000 milliamp. So one power supply will be enough for that, right? If you put two power supplies, what happens? If one supply is dead, power supply dead, the other power supply will continue working. That's a beautiful redundant thing. That's a beautiful best of practice that I ask for every time we design something. Please have two power supplies in your line, in each line, so that you'll have a sense of redundancy inside your system. And this is something that usually nobody does except Vimar and By Me system. So each line will connect it to one or at most two power supply, depending on the demand of the devices installed. By the way, we say at most two power supplies. As I said, all other protocols at most one power supply per line. Here, two power supplies. Now, of course, when you are doing your programming and you are doing your control, do not forget where your device is, in which line, and which area. Now, for burglar alarm, again, burglar alarm here is not being used anymore, but for the old system, if you have a burglar alarm system, always it start in area 0 and line 0, where the automation system start at area 1 and line 0. Clear? Any questions so far? By the way, there's something called the Q&A here that you can ask a question and I can reply you directly. Next, so this is an image of what we mean by areas and lines. I think this is very clear. This is your building. I call it building. Okay. Each building you will have lines. Each line will start with a power supply here. Not the AL, but you will start with the power supply here. But of course, we can add another power supply somewhere here on each line. So here you have 128 devices for 15 areas. Now, I want to make it clear that although this is right theoretically, but usually you need a control unit to control the system, and this control unit can handle up to 256 device. So we're not going to say that we have 15 line, each line will have 128 device. Theoretically, yes, that's correct. But usually the lines will have 2, 3, or 4, 6 devices, 10 devices, 20 devices, up to your design. But the control unit, which will control everything here, can handle only 256 device. And in the whole system, you can have 2 control units. So that means the maximum you can have is 512 devices. Okay, so I'm not disappointing you guys, but this is the control unit. By the way, the control unit is required in all installation, but sometimes if there is no, let's say, if there is no scheduling, if there is no scenarios and you need lighting control, only without these two guys, you will not need a control unit. A minute, guys. I'm sorry, but I'm being told that the sound is breaking. I hope that everyone hear me clearly, and if at any time you have a problem with the sound, please let me know. Let me ask people who's not along with me. Sayed Asir, Muhammad Tulba, Faisal, the sound is clear? Okay, thank you. So let's continue. So here we'll have 2 control unit. So that's mean I will have the maximum as a 512 devices and not billions of devices, as you can see. But still, this is the structure that we use. Again, I can use this structure. I can do this if I don't have a control unit. But if I want more than 512, it's always recommended that I will have a new network. I will stop my network there and I will start a new network to that will be a good practice for that. Of course, this is the standard, but sometimes we can go beyond the standards and we'll have a special design for a special requirement. For me, so far, to be honest, I didn't find any project that goes beyond 512 devices per network, let's say. So the network has the most is 512 device, and that will be more than enough. But if I have more than that, I can do new network, or we can discuss it later on. Next, how to choose our power supply, which is very important because we say that our power supply can have 1280 milliamp. So correctly sizing the number of power supply you needed per line is very important. I didn't put everything or all of the devices. I just put some examples of the devices so you will get the idea here. So let's say that I have one power supply, so it will be 1280 milliamp. Okay, milliamp. And I have here a control unit. So the control unit will use 10. And I have a relay actuator here, will use 10. And another 8. So you get the idea. I have total of 28, which is less than 128 milliamp. So now I have this power supply, which is powering the line here. And I have my devices here. As I said, it's a good practice to add another power supply, although our devices here is less than 1280 milliamp. But it's a good practice. If this one is dead, we can use this one and still allow. Now let's example that we have 100 actuator in the line. Of course, the line can have 1000 can have 128 device. So 10 times 100 will be 1000. Let's say I have a screen which is 300 milliampere, so 1300. So I am over 1200 milliamp, so I will need another power supply on the line. Let's say the line reach below 1200 milliampere, two power supplies. What you can do is to cut the line, put a line coupler, and start a new line and start a new power supply. Clear how to choose a power supply. I don't think it's a big problem for it, but usually when you do your single line diagram, when you do your design and BOQ, you need to put all of your items and calculate how many milliampere you will absorb from the bus. But to be honest, 128 device cannot go more than 1200 milliamp. But as I said, put two power supplies in case that you need another one for emergency. Now, another important thing is that for the distance between the power supplies. Now, after you put the cable and the bus connectance device and you do your line and design, please make sure that you do not create a loop. What I mean by a loop. So this is your line. It's going with these devices. Sometimes you'll make it a star and you will have another branch and then another branch, and you continue with your devices everywhere. Now, what I mean by loop is connecting this branch with this branch. So now you are having a loop of messages. When you do this, it will cause a high traffic on the system and it will usually hang the system. Please make sure that you do not do this. This is what I call by looping. Now, you can do star, you can do whatever you want. I will show you later on, but make sure that you don't do looping. Now, the maximum distance between the power supply unit and the last device is a 350 meter. That's mean the maximum distance between starting the line and the end of the device is 350. That's mean your line should not go more than 350. If it's gonna go more than 350 meter, you need to stop here, put a line coupler, power supply, and go ahead. Another limitation is the maximum distance between two components is 700 meter. So let's imagine that you have here power supply and you start your line will go 350. Another line coupler here, power supply, and you will go for the last device. Now the device is here, which let's say actuator, and the device here, which is a relay, they cannot go more than 700 meter. Okay, you cannot. If you have to, you need to start a ring. Do not go in line. Clear? I just want to make sure it's clear. Mr. Asir, Akhadallah, everything is clear. Again, please, the 700 meter. طيب. If you allow me to explain this in Arabic, it will be easier for me to discuss. الخط عنا بس بيمشي بين الباور سبلاي الأولانية. رح نرجع نكتب مرة ثانية هون. نحن إذا بلشنا الخط تبعنا بباور سبلاي، هي الباور سبلاي، ومشينا بالخط تبعنا. آخر شيء ممكن تعمل له الباور سبلاي باورينج هو 350 متر. طيب نحن عدينا 350 متر، شو بنساوي؟ بنضيف لاين كابلر اللي هو بيقطع الخط مثل ما حكينا، بعدين بنحط باور سبلاي وبنبلش 350 ثاني. هلا نحن ليش حطينا الباور سبلاي؟ حطينا الباور سبلاي مشان نحط عليها ديفايسز، صح؟ فنحن احتمال بالبدايه هون في عنا اكشويتر اللي بيتحكم بالاضاءه وبيتحكم بغيره، وباخر الخط هون في عندك مفتاح او روكر. الماكسيموم ديستنس بين الاكشويتر والروكر هو 700. يعني انت ما فيك تبلش من هون خط جديد، خلص انتهى الموضوع. فانت اذا بدك تبلش خط جديد يفضل انك تعمل رينج او تبلش خط من هون مشان ما توصل ال 700، او تبلش خط من هون وهكذا. ان شاء الله يكون واضح. Great. So by the way, all the questions come only to me. It doesn't go to the public. If you want to have a public question, you can do it in the Q&A. Is it clear, guys? Great. So let's continue. So the maximum distance between two components 700 meter. The maximum length of the bus cable for one line is 1000 meter. طبعا يعني نحن we had our limitation of 350 meter قبل شوي before, and then the 700 meter, and now the 1000 meter. So please do not go over 350 meters. That's the best practice. Now the most important thing, the minimum distance. This is called minimum between power supply is 40 meter. That's mean you cannot put a power supply here and then another power supply. No, the rule is to have at least 40 meter, because we just say 5 minutes ago that you can have two power supplies on the same line but without line coupler. So if you didn't use line coupler here, you need to have your power supply away from each other at least 40 meter, and you need to have, I think, 10 devices minimum. I'm not sure, but I think that you need at least 10 devices between this power supply. But you put this power supply here, another power supply, and you can continue with your line, no problem. Okay, up to 128 devices, as we said, or maximum of 700 meters. Clear when it comes to the minimum distance between two power supplies. Are we clear here? Great. We continue here. So this is an example of the 9 installation topologies. You have the linear, which normal line, straight line, no problem looping from one rocker to another rocker to the third rocker, and you'll see what I mean by that later on. Then you have a star when you have one joint and you have different lines going here and there, and one supply unit, sorry, one mixed when you have a linear and a star at the same time. Now let's apply our rules that we have talked about before. So this is our supply unit and this is the linear. You cannot go more than 350 meter straight to the last device. When it comes to the mixed, you cannot go more than 1000 meter. If you add all this up, you cannot go more than 1000. Now you cannot go more from this device to this device than 350. But total number of all the cables here, you cannot go more than 1000. Is it clear the difference between the maximum length of the line and the maximum distance between two devices? I hope so. And this is the supply unit. As you can see here, it's very practical. It's very easy to use Vimar bus system. All you need to do is you need a device here. Oh, it's okay. You cut, you put the device, or you have a new client or whatever. It's very easy and practical for your electrician and for your guys. Now, this is the real device rocker here. As you can see, first of all, you need to make sure that you are having your device connected correctly, because you'll have positive and negative. You have a plus and minus represented here by black and red, because you are using DC 29 volts. So you'll have plus and minus, positive and negative. You have to make sure that you place it correctly in the device, so you will not mix it minus to plus or plus to minus. Of course, that our shield here, this cable, it's shielded, so it's safe, as we said, to place it with other electrical cable. And here's this rocker or this device. It has a rocker from one side for controlling, or keypad. We call it rocker. Other solution, they call it keypad. So it's up to you what you know. So here you have a rocker, and here you will have an actuator where you can connect your light, and you can program them together. Clear with the cables? Okay, we continue. Now, we have talked about how to choose the cable. We have talked about what's the areas with the lines and how the design your system. And we have talked about how to make your topology or your line. Now you are starting putting your devices here. As we can see, you are putting a keypad here, you are putting a relay and actuator there, you are installing all your devices around the house. The first thing that you do is to reset your devices. It's very important to do that. And by the way, this is the control unit I was talking about earlier. Using this control unit or using your computer, you can reset your devices and start working on it. It's very important that you reset the devices, because sometimes it has an issue with the addresses and messages. If you remember that in my previous webinars, we talked about telegrams, messages, and addresses of each device. So here, when you reset the device, you refresh it and you will give it a new address on the new system. Now, also, it's very important that you have actuator load diagram. So you'll have a diagram that will show you how your devices is working. This is a very important diagram that I'm showing you here that you can use usually. So this is an actuator here with one output. This actuator is connected to the AC. Another actuator here, it's connected to 4 different lights. A third actuator here, it has 4 load as well, but it's 3 of them is connected to a motor and the third one is connected to the AC. So here you have 2 different ACs control. The first AC, it's on and off, or input output depend on your AC. The second one here, we call it fan call unit. When you have 3 speed of the AC, speed 1, speed 2, speed 3, and you will have a compressor or heater or whatever that's connected here. Now, this is what I call a load diagram, because this is your load. This is your lighting. This is your AC. This is your devices, fan, motors, whatever kind of pumps, whatever kind of loads that you want to control. This is your loads. Okay, connected to this is the loads, connected to the actuators or relays which actually control. Now the bus here started with power supply, and we are starting our bus. It goes around the actuators and it will start connecting to our controllers or interface or whatever you want to call them. So here you'll have a thermostat, another thermostat, 2 different, by the way. This is touch thermostat, this is normal thermostat. And here you have a rockers, or you call them a keypads. So this touch thermostat, it will be grouped with this actuator using the control unit. And when this thermostat start working, it will send the command using the bus to this actuator to maybe start fan speed 1, fan speed 2, fan speed 3, or start the compressor, or whatever is the solution here. And here you'll have a different rockers which is connected to this actuator here, and maybe this rocker will be connected to this light, another rocker will be connected to this light, and maybe this is a scenario where everything here is on or off, or whatever you want to design your system with. So now we are putting our diagram and designs, line, area, etc. We are putting it here to a programming. So we are now imagining how we're gonna program our system. And I will talk about more in details about programming, how you program your system, inshallah, in the future when it comes to the programming and using the Vimar tool, or we call it easy tool for programming. But now I'm just giving you a picture of how to do it. So we program this interface with this actuator here for them to work together. Or this relay, by the way, it has 4 output. If you want, you can connect all of them to one rocker, or you will use one by one. For example, this one only with this rocker, and it's all depend on the programming. Same happen here with this actuator relay. It's kind of complicated, I know. So is it clear? Would you like to repeat it in Arabic, or everything is clear here? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad, the most active participant I have here. Thank you very much. Uh, anyway, we continue. I'm going to continue here to design the sound system. Akh Anas Ghazal, he raised his hand. How I can help you before I continue the design the sound system? أخ أنس، فيك تكتب لي على الشات إذا بتحب. طيب، ممكن تكتب لي السؤال وبعدين نحن بنجاوب على الأسئلة هي كلياتها بعد ما نخلص. ممكن إعادة الربط. ما فهمت شو قصدك بإعادة الربط السيد أنس. طيب، أخ أنس، بتحب أعطيك الصوت تسألني السؤال مباشرة؟ الشريحة السابقة. تمام. طيب، نحن نحن قبل شوي حكينا على اللاينز، حكينا على الارياز، حكينا على اللاينز، حكينا على غيره. هلا الارياز واللاينز اللي حكينا عليهم بالبدايه بيقول لك انه فيك تحط 128 جهاز على نفس الخط، فاحنا هون في عندنا مثال لخط واحد مثل ما لكم لاحظين، هذا خط واحد. هذا الخط بيبدا بباور سبلاي، طبعا مو واضحه هون لكن حنقول انه بدا بباور سبلاي. بدأ بباور سبلاي، بلشنا نحط أجهزتنا هون، أول جهاز، الثاني، الثالث، الرابع، الخامس، السادس. طبعا اللي بيتذكر الويبينار السابق تبعي، أنا قسمت الأجهزة عندي لنوعين من الأجهزة: أجهزة الانترفيس وأجهزة الكنترول. أجهزة الانترفيس أو اللي بتحكم فيها البني آدم هي اللي هي بتتعامل مع البني آدم، يلي أنت بتضغطها بتساوي شيء. وأجهزة الكنترول اللي هي بتتعامل مع الأجهزة. فمثال، عندك هذا الاكشويتر او الكنترول، هذا بيتحكم بمكيف عليه لود واحد. هذا في عندك 4 لود او 4 لمبات او 4 خطوط اضاءه. وهذا عندك بيتحكم كمان بنوع مختلف من المكيفات اللي فيه 3 سرعات. فانت هون عم تتحكم ب3 سرعات بالميتور، وعندك بتحكم بالتكييف. لما تجي وقت البرمجه لما تجي وقت البرمجه انت لازم تربط اجهزه الانترفيس مع اجهزه الكنترول. بمعنى لما يجي بني ادم يشغل المكيف هون، لازم هذا الثرموستات يعرف حاله انه عم يحكي مع هذا الاكشويتر. فوقت البرمجه رح تعملهم وان جروب. فبالتالي لما انت تضغط على الثرموستات هون وتشغل مكيف، هذا الثرموستات حيعطي امر عن طريق البص للاكشويتر انه يا معلم صار وقت تشتغل هلا. نفس الكلام بالنسبه للروكر. انت فيك تيجي تاخذ، طبعا هون الاكشويتر هذا فيه 4 اوتبوت، يعني بتحكم ب4 لمبات اضاءه. فلما انت بامكانك تربط اكشويتر، او عفوا بامكانك تربط روكر واحد فيهم ال4 مع بعض. فلما تضغط الزر هذا ال4 بيشتغلوا، لما تضغط الزر هذا ال4 بيدفوا مع بعض مره واحده. وبنفس الوقت فيك تربط روكر واحد بلمبه واحده، بمعنى لما تضغط الزر هذا بتشغل لمبه واحده وبتطفي لمبه واحده، كله عن طريق البرمجه وعن طريق برنامج الايزي تول اللي حكينا عليه قبل هيك. ونفس الكلام بالنسبه للمكيف الاخير. ان شاء الله يكون واضح هلا. تمام. So let's continue. رح ننتقل للديزاين ان ساوند سيستم. ديزاين ان ساوند سيستم شوي مختلف، فلذلك بدنا نركز عليه شوي، لانه الساوند سيستم طبعا انت لما تحكي عن الاوتوميشن. When you're talking about the automation, sorry, I shift up to Arabic. I need someone to remind me all the time to go back to English. So when you are designing in sound system, the sound system is totally different than automation. Why? Because in the automation you'll have a small bucket that send a command on or off, and that's it. But when it comes to the sound system, actually you have a voice bucket that contains some audio messages. So it will have some different perspective when it comes for the designing. So here, this is an example how you start the sound system. This is a typical one. This is your power supply here. You'll have a branch of the automation. You'll put decoupler and you'll start your sound system. It's a branch of the automation. It's not a special line here. It's only a branch. But also you can have a special line for the sound system. How you does this? This is the first line here. And this is second line. As you can see, there's a line coupler between them. And this line will start with automation, and right away you put a line decoupler and you start your sound system. In the sound system, it's very, very, very important for you to start with the jumpers close and jumper close at the both ends. Why? Because you want to tell the sound system that your line finish up here. You don't continue. Okay? But you don't need to do that in the automation system. So this is an example of a dedicated line, and this is an example here. Let's continue to the previous slides. This is an example of a branch. So one power supply is powering both the sound system and the automation, where here you'll have one power supply to supply the sound system, so you'll have a dedicated line for the sound system. Now, this is one line, all one line. As you can see, we have two power supplies here. As I said earlier, that you can have two power supply in the same line. You start the power supply, and then you'll have an automation line working here. So you can have actuators, you can have relays, you can have rockers, screen, whatever. And whenever you want, you put a decoupling and you start your sound system. Now, as I said earlier, that the sound system can only go in linear. You cannot do star in sound system unless you use shunt. Here, if you notice with by me, we didn't use shunt. We right away make a branch and we continue with our star topology. But here, if you're gonna use the sound system and you want to make a star shunt, you have to have a shunt here to make a star. Otherwise, you have to go linear. Okay, I have a question about the power supply. Sayyid Anas, we don't need two power supplies. We have to calculate how many milliamperes of the devices drawn from the system and decide on that which power supply and how much power supplies do we have. This power supply, I said earlier, it will use 1280 milliamp. I explained that before. So in this example, maybe this guy is using 40 milliamp, this guy is using 100 milliamp, which is not true, by the way. Most of them 10 milliamp, but let's imagine that. So the total of this numbers should not exceed the two power supplies. Another use of the power supply, if this one is dead, this one can work as a redundant. I hope this one is clear. ان شاء الله تكون وضحت سيد انس. على فكره سيد انس انا حكيت هالكلام هذا بالسلايدات القديمه، وان شاء الله ابعث لكم البرزنتيشن مشان تقروها او تشوفوها من البدايه، حتكون اسهل اذا الله راد. We continue. You are most welcome, Sayyid Anas. So as you can notice here that in automation we does not need a shunt, but in sound system we need a shunt. Remember that you start with a jumper, you will end with a jumper. That's very important to remember. Another beautiful thing about Vimar is the same sound system that you are using here for rocker. Turn on the volume high, turn down the volume. You can have a branch for automation. So imagine that you have sound system coming to this area, and beside it there's a rocker for automation. You want to use it. You can do that by just having a branch, and you can connect maximum to 3 devices here. So it's very flexible. It's very easy to design and to work. And on the site, you'll appreciate that. Clear? Okay, we continue. Now, طيب, Mr. Asir عم يسألني what does a shunt do? As I was explaining in automation system, Mr. Asir, let me move to Arabic if you people allow me. بالاوتوميشن او بالتحكم بالاضاءه والتكييف، انت ما عندك مشكله تعمل ستار، يعني تعمل خط هون بعدين تقطع وتساوي خط جديد، بعدين تقطع وتساوي خطين جداد، وان شاء الله 10 خطوط، ما عندك اي مشكله. you can do that. لكن بالساوند سيستم سيد آسر، بالساوند سيستم ما بتحسن. بالساوند سيستم لازم تضلك ماشي دغري، ما فيك تفتح خطوط جديده، لازم تضلك ماشي دغري. اذا اضطريت انك تفتح خط جديد لازم تحط الشنط. هذا الشنط بيفتح لك خط جديد وبيخليك تكمل بثلاث خطوط مختلفه. واضح اخ اسير؟ تمام. شغله مهمه ثانيه، انه الديفايس تبع الساوند سيستم هذا ساوند سيستم ديفايس. الديفايس تبع الساوند سيستم بيشابك على الساوند سيستم من جهه، ومن الجهه الثانيه فيك تركب عليه اجهزه اوتوميشن لثلاث اجهزه ماكسيموم. واضح؟ تمام. نرجع نكمل. maximum distance between the receiver and the transmitter من دون شنط بيناتهم 300 متر، وهذا it's very very good news for everyone. What I mean by transmitter and receiver. الريسيفر هو ال RCA كمثال هون. ال RCA هاد هو اللي بيستقبل the RCA here it's the device that receive the sound system signal or packet or whatever you want to call it. Then he will put it on the line. Now this sound system, it will be received by an amplifier, and this amplifier will put it on this amplifier, and this amplifier will send it to the speakers with the way that you're gonna see later on. So the maximum distance here is a 300 meter, as I remember, right? Tamam? It's a 300 meter. Remember that if you have one shunt, this one will go down to 200 meter. If you have a two shunt, you will have 100 meter. This is very important to remember. This is an example. This is your receiver, and this is your transmitter. The receiver is where you receive the signal, and the transmitter is where you broadcast the signal to the speaker. So the maximum between the receiver and the transmitter is the 300 meter without a shunt. If you have a shunt, it will go down to 200 meter. If you have two shunt, it will go down to 100 meter. Clear? Now, this is your amplifier, which produces the sound, and here you will have a sound cable. This is speaker cable. It cannot go more than 10 meter for this amplifier, which is 1 watt only. I will explain that in more details after that. Here, as you can see, to make it more clear, you have one transmitter here. Sorry, one receiver here. And maybe you have mobile connected here, your mobile phone connected here. And you will have two amplifiers, two different amplifiers. Oh, okay, they call this one receiver, this one transmitter, whatever. So you have two amplifiers. The first amplifier is this one, which is 10 watt, connected to big speakers. And the second amplifier, this one, connected to a small speaker. This is 1 watt, by the way. Once you have a shunt, you don't have more than 200 meter from here to here or from here to here. So maximum you can have 200 meter between the transmitter and the receiver. Now, since you have a big amplifier with 10 watt, you will have 30 meter of the sound cable. By the way, this is a very, very big distance and very big lengths. Don't think that it will limit you. But remember this as a technical, if you are facing a problem in the future programming, that they don't go beyond this. Usually, the amplifier is located with the same place as the speaker. Yani, if you have the speaker on the wall, the amplifier will be above the wall or above the ceiling. Usually this one will be in the wall and the speakers will be beside it right away. So don't worry, 10 meters is more than enough, 30 meters is more than enough. You don't need to worry about this limitation, but you have to remember it because the electrical guys don't know that and might have some do they might do some unnecessary loops, etc. Another example here, when you have a two shunts, so one shunt, another shunt, you'll have maximum of 100 meter. But if you're going through one shunt, you'll have 200 meter of maximum length. This is another receiver with 10-watt transmitter receiver. So here you have another transmitter. So I hope that you understand the solution here. Now, another important thing that I talk about is the distance between the speaker and the amplifier. The speaker, if the amplifier you are using 1 watt, it will be 10 meter. If you are using 10 watt, it will be 30 meter. If you are using, again, 33 watt, it will be 10 meter. And again, as I said, you don't need to care about this because it's reasonable distances. It's not a big thing. Usually, you will not go above 5 or 6 meters because it will be in the same room. The whole point about this is to place your amplifier within the room. We don't have one amplifier to control 60 speakers. No, each amplifier will have 2 speakers maximum. If you have more than that, then you can group them and you can group 2, 3, 4 speakers together. So when it comes to the sound system, is it clear? Because I want to move ahead to some design diagram, design examples within one house. I just want to make sure everything is clear. أخ عبد الله الوحيد اللي ما شارك معنا، أرجو أن يكون الصوت واضح عندك وكل شيء واضح. سيد أنس، سيد أسير، مستر فيصل، إيرينا، أخ محمد، كل شيء واضح إلى الآن. اخ عبد الواحد رفع لي ايده مشان يفهمني انه كل شيء تمام. تمام، شكرا اخ، شكرا اخ اسير. طيب، الحمد لله, everything is clear. I don't want you to panic when you see this. It's not complicated. It's very easy. You don't need to panic about it. By the way, we're gonna help you with your designs in the future. This webinar is just to give you an idea and start to understand things. In this design that you see in front of you, you have 2 different networks, not one network, or let's say 3 different networks, not one network. The first network you have is the BIME or the sound system network. The second network you have is the intercom network. The third network you have is the LAN network. So 3 different networks. As you can see here, you have all your devices connected to the bus, and the bus then connected to the screens, to small screens, etc. And it's the same time it's connected at the web server. This is, we call it a web server. It's your gateway between the BIME and the LAN. So this guy, the web server, will give an access for the LAN devices, example mobile and tablets. It will give an access for them to access our BIME system. The second network here, you have it, is the intercom network. As you notice here, we don't have any gateway or integration between the intercom and the automation, which is a good thing. Always the integration is a bad thing for me. Anyways, what you have here is the same device is from one side connected to the BIME system, the other side is connected to the network system. So the same screen that display the intercom and the BIME, it will be connected twice, one to the intercom, one to the BIME system, to allow it controlling the house from the automation side and receiving video intercom from the other side. Another important thing that you need to understand here is the power cable. Some of the screens that we have here require additional power cable. For example, this screen and this screens, they require additional power. So our power supply will give you additional port for power supply, and you have to run a power cable from our power supply to this screens. Is it clear? Because the power supply here will power the line, the bus cable, and at the same time it will have another output for the screens that you have to run a special cable for it. Okay, same when it comes to the big screen as well. But the small devices, rockers, actuator, etc., they do not require additional power. They will have their power coming from the bus here. So here I have discussed the BIME, which is this cable. I have discussed the intercom, which is this cable. I have discussed the router or the LAN network, and I have discussed the additional power supply. Is it clear what I have here? Great. So here I zoom in to our bus cable and to our design and how to glue them. I have discussed this earlier, but again, I'm going to discuss it again. This is our actuator here, and it's connected to, it's usually connected to 4 loads. This one's connected to 2 loads. So what's happened here is that you have 1, 2, 3, 4 circuits. All of them are connected to one group. So this actuator or this relays is connected to one group with this cable, but at the same time, this one is connected to another group, and this one is connected to another group. So if you notice that this device is part of 2 groups, not one group, 2 group. The first group is this one, the big one, which is on off. It will turn it on and off. At the same time, the second group is this group. When you turn it on off, it will turn on off the same device. The most important rule that you need to know about is this device cannot have more than 4 groups at the same times. 4 group is your maximum number of the group per device. Is it clear? When you have 2, 3, 4 groups. So, for example, if you want this device to be connected by 4 rockers, 4 different rockers, okay, you can have 4 groups only as a maximum. But there's a solution for this. What's the solution? Is to make it, let's imagine that you need three, or let's say you need 10 rockers to control one actuator, but you cannot have more than 4 groups. So for this example, we need this, and this, all of them to control the same actuator. So what you will do is, easily you will group the first one, and you will add this rocker, and you will add this rocker and this actuator to one group. So this device, this device, and this device, and this device, all of them is in one group. So what happened here? That means that you have 3 different rockers. They might be on 3 different places, or connecting one light using one group. So actually 4 group is not limiting. And I know that some people will say, oh my God, 4 group, it's very limiting. What if I have 10 actuator? What if I have blah, blah, blah? No, it's not limiting. If you have the same function of the 3 or 4 or 5 rockers, you can group them in one group. When do you need another group? If you have a different function. If you have a different function, then you need another group. Even you can add to this group a motion sensor. No problem. The same group will have a motion sensor as well. Clear? Okay, great. We continue. This another example using a load, or let's say an actuator within the rocker itself. So here you'll have a load A, load D, load C, load B, and here's the rockers, and they are connected through bus, as you can see, and then you will have them in groups. Now, how do you program? usually in each of our devices, it has a configuration button, which is located here inside the rockers, or for the touch, which is this one for the touch. So when you want to program or make or have devices inside a group, you need to physically come to the device and press that button to start the configuration mode. Okay, so this is another example of our devices. Uh, this is another third example of our devices. Now, what I want to ask before I go ahead, do I have any question? Because I will move to a new topic. Do I have another question? Everything is clear? Great. So now, Vimar is a modular system. What I mean by modular system is that you cannot use the device only. Here, as an example, you need to start first with a frame, a support frame where you put your device inside. Then you choose your device, which is actuator, relay, motion sensor, whatever. Then you have to have a plate or a cover for that device. It's very important to know that because other companies, they will give you the whole thing as one device. Why we don't do that? Maybe it will be more clear in the next slide. Why? Because this frame, I can put 3 rockers, or I can put 2 rockers, or I can put motion sensor and 1 rocker inside it. On the same rocker here, I can put different devices. For example, I can put one big cover to make these 2 rockers as 1 rocker if I want to, if I don't have any work for it. Or I can have different customized stuff, and then I have customized blade above it. My point here is you need rocker, right? But you cannot order only a rocker. You need to order the rocker, you need to order the support frame, you need to order the button covers, and you need to order the plate. All this consider one device. The back box, don't worry about it because the back box usually it's in the wall already from the beginning. Clear how Vimar work? Because we are totally different than other companies. أنا خلصنا هون. I have finished up to here. I will just have a few examples of our devices. The first example here is a 10-inch screen, which can, it's an Android powered device. It has sound system, it has media player, it has a video player, it has even an output for sound system if you want. Of course, it will be connected to the automation system. It has an connection to the intercom as well, and you can browse the internet from it. This is another example of our screens, a smaller one, which can connect to CCTV, can connect to the automation, and can connect to the intercom with dedicated button for the intercom system. This is our web server, the one I talked about, which connect both the Buy Me system to the LAN. So it give access from mobile, it will give access from your tablet. Device examples, our power supplies, rockers, we have dimmers, we have actuators, 0 to 10 dimmers, 9,000 different devices of Vimar. Thank you. يعطيكم العافية. I really appreciate your attendance. I have a question and answer here. أخ محمد طلبة. نعم. By the way, I will have a sorry. I have here a pool that I would like for you to answer. هل الوقت كان مناسب ولا لا؟ طبعا الأخ محمد طلبة عم يسأل إنه في عنا الويب سيرفر في له ابلكيشن. طبعا في عندك ابلكيشن على فيمار، اذا بتروح على الاندرويد او بتروح على الاي او اس ودور على فيمار باي مي رح تلاقي ابلكيشن. الابلكيشن جدا رائع. ان شاء الله بشرح لكم عنه اكثر. الابلكيشن بيخليك تستقبل الاوتوميشن، حتى فيك تستقبل انتركوم لو حبيت. اهلا وسهلا اخ انس، حياكم الله. أي سؤال أنا جاهز، رح أعطيكم وقت تجاوبوني. بالنسبة في ناس عم يقولوا لي إنه في ناس عم يقولوا لي إنه الوقت كان غير مناسب، فلو حدا عنده اقتراح لوقت ويبينار يكون مناسب للجميع أو الأبريشيت ذات لو تجاوبوني. طبعا في عندي ناس دخلوا جديد، أهلا وسهلا فيهم، حياهم الله، لكن خلصنا إن شاء الله حبعت لكم الفيديوهات مشان تجاوبوها. شو الوقت المناسب للويبينار لو تجاوبوني؟ الساعة 10 الصبح أنا بلشته، بتحبوه 11؟ شو الأيام المناسبة؟ بيكون كتير منيح. تمام، شكرا ومع السلامة، وبتمنى أني أشوفكم بالويبينارات القادمة. بالمناسبة أنا عندي ويبينار قادم يوم الخميس، يلي بيحب يحضر معي يوم الخميس. هالمرة حنحكي عن تاب هوم مو عن فيمار. تاب هوم شركة تانية. الفيديوهات كلها متوفرة أخ أنس، ورح أبعث لكم إياها، حبت لك إياها بالإيميل مشان تشوفها. بالمناسبة الفيديو هلأ شغال لايف على اليوتيوب، فأنت لو رحت على اليوتيوب حتلاقيه موجود. ما عندك مشكلة. طيب، شكرا كثير على وقتكم مرة تانية، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.